Have you ever been challenged to show your faith? Have you ever had to look fear in the eye and know that you have courage to stand up and walk your truth? Today, I'm going to talk to you about the story of Daniel in the lion's den. This story comes from Daniel chapter 6. Now, I'm not going to give you the whole story, but I'm going to give you some highlights to help you with this. So, under the time of King Darius, he had appointed numerous governors and administrators to run a kingdom. One of those administrators was Daniel. Now, Daniel was very well liked by King Darius due to his good spirit and his connection with God. Enough so that King Darius even considered appointing Daniel over the entire kingdom. Well, the governors and the other administrators did not like that at all. So they devised a trap to catch Daniel. They went to King Darius and convinced him to create an unbreakable law, one that would, if you prayed to anybody outside of King Darius, a god or another person, you would be thrown into the lion's den. Even though Daniel knew this law, he still went home that evening and prayed to God. Well, he did it outside of a window and he got caught. And although the king liked Daniel, King Darius was still forced to punish him and to put him into that lion's den overnight. He sealed the door with a stone and marked it with the king's seal so that they knew it was permanent. Well, the next day, the king came rushing to the cave because he still liked Daniel. He still wanted to make sure he was okay. So he checked, "Are you okay?" Well, he heard through the stone surprised him, is that Daniel was still alive and unharmed. Daniel claimed that an angel had been sent from God to protect him, closing off the lions' mouths so that they could not hurt him. As Daniel was found innocent and chosen by God, the conspirators were then instead placed into the lion's den along with their families. And sadly, everybody met a very tragic end. So, why do we care? Why does this matter? Well, in Unity, we don't take the Bible literally, right? We look at it from a metaphysical standpoint. So, here's my metaphysical interpretation. Is there will be times in our lives when will be challenged. Do we continue to live the sense consciousness that separates us and limits us? Or do we see the world from that divine wisdom of oneness? Well, the world will test us around every corner. So we have to make a choice. Do we give in to the conditions of the world? Or do we step out in courage and faith and live the truth we know? So you may be asking, well, how do I do that? Well, one of the first things we can do is Unity's fourth principle of, through prayer and meditation, connecting with God. Through that sense consciousness, we're going to see limitation. But when we go to what Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, said, is that secret place of Most High, the silence. That is where we'll find that state of consciousness that is used to connect the divine mind to humans, so we can hear that still small voice that you heard in First Kings. So we take that time and we bring in that consciousness. We bridge the gap between our human conscious thinking and that super conscious of God. And we create that and we listen to that knowledge, that wisdom that is given to us in that moment. Well, when we hear that knowledge, just as Daniel did, we have to act upon that knowledge. We have to step out in that faith. And that's where our fifth principle of living the truth comes into play. Now, I found a really wonderful letter from Myrtle Fillmore, our other co-founder of Unity, from one of her letters from 1936. And she wrote this to her correspondent. "So, dear, watch what you do. Do not remain too much alone, too much in the silence, too much in contemplation and the adoration, and not enough in the practical use of what the walks and talks alone with God would give." So we will first hear our knowledge and that truth, and we step out in faith, knowing that we are in that oneness, that we are part of that consciousness. So today I invite you to step into that consciousness, knowing that with full faith, God is there to support you along the way. And so it is.